Narcissistic abuse just didn't affect me emotionally. It changed my body. It changed the way I looked, and I didn't understand why. I started breaking out. And I'm not talking about just one little pimple. I mean consistent blemishes, inflamed skin, breakouts that just didn't make sense at this big age. So I started buying new cleansers, switching products, spending money trying to fix something that felt cosmetic, but it wasn't cosmetic. It was stress. When I look back at pictures from that time, I can see it. My skin looked inflamed, my face looked tense. I just look exhausted. And I didn't connect it to what I was living in. Welcome to Making Sense of the Chaos. My name is Ashley. I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor, and I study human behavior and patterns. And in this series, we're breaking down the physical effect of narcissistic abuse because too many people are suffering in silence, thinking that their symptoms are random. And today we're talking about how chronic stress in a narcissistic relationship can change your appearance. And we're going to break this down piece by piece. When you're in a narcissistic relationship, you're constantly walking on eggshells. Your nervous system stays activated, which means that you have elevated cortisol, and cortisol is your body's stress hormone. In short bursts, it can help you to react, but when it stays elevated for months or even years, it starts affecting how your body looks physically. And your skin is one of the first places that it shows up because chronic stress increases inflammation. It disrupts your skin's barrier. It affects oil production. That's why breakouts can suddenly appear. Even if your skin was clear before, it's not that your skincare routine failed, it's that your body was under prolonged stress. And then there was my jaw. I didn't even realize how tight they were all the time because I've always kind of had the resting bitch face. So I didn't notice the difference at first. But I started waking up with headaches. My jaws would feel sore. I catch myself clenching my teeth. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. It was just constant tension. And that's when it hit me. My body was bracing all the time. And when you're constantly anticipating conflict, your muscles do not relax. You're literally holding tension in your face. And over time, that tension shows up. And then there was the eating. When I was still in the relationship with the narcissist, I didn't even want to eat because I knew there would be comments, little jokes, side remarks about what I was choosing or how much I was eating. So eating around him stopped feeling safe. It felt monitored. And so when he wasn't around, I would overeat, not because I was out of control, but because it felt peaceful. It was one of the only times I could eat without being observed and without being judged. And that's because it's its own cycle. It was stress while he was there, relief when he wasn't. And then criticism about the weight that followed. And that's a downward spiral. Now let's layer in the biology. High cortisol makes your body more likely to store fat, especially around your midsection. Your body thinks you're under threat, so it thinks it needs to reserve. And so now you have emotional coping layered on top of a physiological stress response. Of course, your body is going to change. And that's not because of lack of discipline. That's survival layered on survival. And looking back on it all, I wasn't just emotionally drained. My skin was reacting. My jaws was tight. My body was inflamed. It got to the point to where I didn't recognize myself in pictures anymore. And that's what hurt. Because when you don't recognize yourself physically, it starts to affect your identity. And I want to ask you something. Did you notice your physical appearance changed during your relationship? Or am I the only one? Let me know in the comments because noticing these changes aren't vanity. They're signals. Your body is adapting to prolonged stress. And when the stress decreases, when your nervous system finally starts to settle, your body can recalibrate. Not overnight, though, but gradually. And remember, you're not broken. And if you haven't seen a video where I break down how narcissistic abuse affects the body as a whole, watch that next because this makes more sense when you see the full picture. And I will see you next time when we will continue to make sense of the chaos.